because for me, like when I finished school, I straight away went overseas. I didn't start uni. I deferred. I went overseas for 1 year, and when I was overseas, I went to study Arabic. The only thing I could think of is being fluent in Arabic and learning Arabic, and it kept being focused on the end goal, and I wasn't like actually enjoying the time living overseas.
Because I used to think like happiness. I don't know what I said on that episode. Don't remember. I just waffle sometimes. Yeah, but I think what I said something along the lines was like you can reach happiness. Yeah. And then I realized like afterwards, like, no, happiness is like in the process. It's in the journey.
It's also internal.
They're being used for 15 minutes. In 2 weeks, someone else is going to do something even dumber than you did, or is going to mess up more than you did, and then everyone's going to get over it, bro. Because everyone has their own problems. Everyone has their own issues. Everyone's going about their life their own ways, you know what I mean? And you're not going to be something that like someone's going to be thinking about 24/7. Fair Dinkum. All right, g'day guys, how we going? Fair Dinkum again. Same 3 boys, we're missing one. Inshallah, he'll be back soon. He's on sick leave, but yeah, he's not getting paid for these days off. Today's topic is things that we've learned in our early 20s. And I know you guys are going to probably watch this and go, oh, what's a 24-year-old or a 23-year-old? What are these guys in their early 20s going to teach us? But like I was saying to the boys from before, there's a lot of stuff you learn in your early 20s because it's still fresh. Like, you're just becoming an adult. You're still getting the hang of life after school. And yeah, like, you learn a lot between 20 to 21. You learn a lot. 21 and 22. It's always different lessons. And there's always things you level up on. And life's just continually, it's just a continuous cycle of growth. And I think we all know that based off of our own experiences. But yeah, I want to talk to you boys about just the lessons that you've learned in general. Because I think you and there's like, I think a couple months between you guys. So you guys are at a stage where I've already passed it, but it's like you're 22 now. Now you're starting to feel a bit of pressure because uni's almost done, or you might have finished your course already. And I remember my age when I was 22, I felt this pressure that I needed to have a job, or I needed to be like at least set up socially. Like, I have my group of friends or my circle, or I had like, you know what I mean, like a missus or something like that by now. Like, because you see those guys, the ones that come fresh out of high school, they get a graduate so they get to uni, they get into their course, they finish 3 years, you know, they get their graduate program, their mum sets them up with a girl, they're all now everything's just fresh for them. Now everything's just good, and they're going about their life, climbing the corporate ladder. And then tell us, like, what lessons have you learned at this age now, like from being a 22-year-old, especially nowadays in the Western society?
You want to take it
Yeah,
away?
I don't mind, because
take it away.
I realized for me, I was thinking about, this is actually the only life lesson I thought of, and it was living in the moment. Because for me, like when I finished school, I straight away went overseas. I didn't start uni. I deferred. I went overseas for 1 year, and when I was overseas, I went to study Arabic. The only thing I could think of is being fluent in Arabic and learning Arabic, and it kept being focused on the end goal. And I wasn't like actually enjoying the time living overseas. Like, how often, like, you've never lived overseas. It's a experience that not a lot of people get. And to be able to actually, like, I miss those kind of days. Like, I have friends that I only speak Arabic with and that are still in Jordan. I'm not going to see them again. Well, maybe I will see them, but who knows? And it's that kind of thing. It's like, I didn't appreciate the moment, and I was thinking on the end goal too much. And even I remember my last couple months when I knew I was coming back, I was thinking always about Melbourne. What am I going to do? I'm excited to do this. I'm excited to do that. And I didn't like actually like live and just be in the present. And the same kind of thing, like when I came to here, I got excited, you know, then I tore my ACL and I did a recovery for like a year. And it's that kind of thing. I was always thinking about the end goal, but I didn't think about the rehab, the daily work. And it's like, I was always living about what's going to happen in 3 months or 6 months, living in the future and not living in the moment. So that was the biggest thing. It's like, I was just reading and it said, like, you know, for people in the Olympics, they say it's not every 4 years, it's every day. And it's like, I'll now, just recently, like the last 2 months, I've been trying to say, okay, I write goals, like, you know, yearly goals, I wrote them and stuff, but I'm just taking day by day and just enjoying it. Like, people have asked me, what's happening with this, what's happening with that, but I'm not even thinking too much in the future because I'm just going to lose myself today.
100%. When was that lesson learnt though? Like, was it learnt straight after Jordan? Was it learnt when you're done your...
Might have been the ACL, yeah.
Was it the ACL?
Like, honestly, even like looking back at my ACL, it's something where it's like, I've learnt the lesson, but I haven't, like, everyone always says, trust the process. You know, it's about the journey, not the destination. It's
Indeed.
everyone says it. You know, you hear Kobe's last speech. That's what he said. You know, Joel Embiid, the 76ers. That's what they say. Everyone come back from injury, but it's like people just say it.
Yeah.
But then when do you live by it?
Yeah.
And it's like I read books and stuff, so I always hear like a nice quote, but then you just forget about it the next day.
Yeah.
So then now recently it's kind of thing where it's like I actually wake up and just think about the day.
Yeah.
Or think about like the moments here, like the friendships you have and that kind of thing. Because you guys know, like COVID, so many things you've lost, so many things that, how quick did COVID go? And then now you wish you kind of had that isolation to make the most of certain time.
Yeah.
So it's the kind of thing, it's like living in the moment and also like being grateful for what you have. Because like family members, people are losing family members.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
people losing friendships, people losing relationships, losing money, losing health.
Themselves
like-
as well.
Yeah, losing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you got to actually be grateful for what you have right now. And if we're always focusing on the future, because I know I am too.
Yeah.
Consistently, I'm thinking I'm a goal setter, I'm a planner. You know, I want to think about where my
Yeah.
potential is. You know, but it's like don't start getting fixated on that. Like even in the gym, I work out with some people and they're always telling me I want to lift this, I want to lift that. But it's like you keep thinking about if you're goal oriented too much,
Yeah.
you're only happy when you get the goal.
Yeah.
But what were you saying the other day about like the sweetness of
The journey. So
Yeah.
like basically there was a sheikh, I think at PGCC, he was talking about it. Mufti Ziyad, yeah. Basically, I want to attribute it to him. Inshallah, he gets the ajr for this. Basically, life is like a race, and usually you think that as soon as I win the race, as soon as I cross that finish line, my life's gonna be like ecstasy, you know. Everyone's gonna be mad. If I win, I come first and whatever and red, and it's like he goes. You'll realize that when you cross the finish line, the moment that you're actually at your happiest is just before you reach the finish line. So that little space before the line, you know. And he talks about how you can hear the crowd chanting and they're going, yeah, go, whatever your name is. Well, if you're winning the race.
Yeah, if you're
But
winning.
basically, yeah, if you're at the front or the head of the pack, you'll notice that everyone's stunning. Then you start to like soak in the moment for that split second that you have, and then you cross the finish line, and then you're like, now what? Because the people stop cheering, and then life moves on. And then if that's the peak of your life, it's just those little goals and aspirations that then you're kind of missing the point. It's a spoiler for whoever hasn't watched Soul yet. Sorry, like this is it. Fast forward this part if you haven't. But basically, there's a part in the movie where, have you watched it? Block it easy if you haven't. but basically, is a part in the movie where he gets taken back. So the main character gets taken back, and they go, yeah, it's about time he goes back to the afterlife, and he's gonna go and pass away now, yeah. And then he asked one of the Jerrys. Jerrys is like the angels that are up there or whatever it is.
They call them Jerry's.
Yeah, they call them Jerrys. Yeah, it's a mad movie. You have to watch it. Basically, he goes to him. So what ended up being, like, he had to mentor a girl. Yeah, what ended up being her purpose? And then he goes, purpose. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, yeah, it doesn't everyone live for a purpose. Because my purpose is playing the piano. And then he goes to him, you humans, yeah? You always think that something needs to have a purpose and whatever. Life is just life. Yeah, you have to live. And there was another quote in it where the lady goes to him after he finished his big gig, because he ended up finishing the big gig that he's been working all his life for, and he got G'd, he got gassed. And I know you see the lady goes to him, he goes to the lady like, now what? Now what do we do? Then she goes, we come back and do it again tomorrow night. And then he goes, is that it? She goes, let me make it simple for you. She goes, there was a little fish, yeah, it was in there's a little fish. You seen? You heard it? She goes, yeah, there's a little fish, and he asked another fish, like, I'm trying to get to the ocean. How do I get there? Yeah. And then he goes, you're already in it. And then he goes, no, this is water. Like, when do I actually get to the fish? When do I actually get to the ocean? And then he looked at him and he goes, like, he just swam off.
Yeah.
Basically, with this thing we call life, we think it starts at a certain point. Like after you get married, or when people say, oh, well, life starts after I have a kid.
Full-time job.
Or full-time job, or something gets organized in my life, or after my parents finish their debt, or whatever it is, yeah? Everyone thinks that, but then life is the thing that you're in now, like every day that you're like.
That's why a lot of people nowadays, they feel like they're constantly missing out. And you know what they do is they go in, like, I'm going to speak from a personal perspective. I'm not going to say you guys, let's talk about me, yeah? You sort of, put your value, what you're worth, with that expectation. And if you don't reach that expectation, then you have no value. Like, for example, the soul thing is like, I'm not a fish until I'm in the ocean. And if I'm not in the ocean, then I'm not a fish. It's like, but you're in the ocean already. And the thing is, like Ashraf said, you start to miss out on the things that are happening now. Like if you take the athletes like in Olympics and all that, for example, it's like you can't enjoy days of training. Like you're never going to be at your peak where you're able to train 16 hours a day, 8 hours a day or whatnot. You know what I mean? There's going to be a day when you're going to fall off that thing. You know what I mean? If you don't live in that moment, you miss out on it to an extent.
Yeah.
You
I
get what
remember
I mean?
when I was setting up my goals for the year, they said that like we attach the happiness to achieving the goal.
Yeah.
And obviously that's not how you should. And it's like they talk about us as a mu'min. You know, like every single day there's sometimes you're like in Ramadan, you go on a Ramadan high and you find enjoyment in it.
Yeah.
We're finding enjoyment in the journey, in the Ramadan, praying. You know, when you go on an iman high, you feel good about, you know, becoming closer to Allah. Like you find enjoyment in that, and then you find enjoyment in the next life.
Yeah.
Because it is about the journey. You know, like the destination is the goal. So it's about both, like just appreciating the moment.
You know, one of our first episodes when we started speaking about like happiness and stuff, we're having that conversation. It's like, what is happiness and whatnot? Bro, my opinion on that has changed 100% since.
What was your
Because
opinion?
I used to think like happiness, I don't know what I said on that episode, don't remember, I just waffle sometimes. Yeah, but I think what I said something along the lines was like you can reach happiness. Yeah. And then I realized like afterwards, like, no, happiness is like in the process. It's in the journey.
It's also internal.
Like, yeah, it's internal. The way that you see happiness might not be the way that someone else sees it. Do you know what I mean? So it's like one of those things. Like, and that's one thing as well. Think about like the podcast. Yeah. In that time, that was probably like 20 episodes ago. It was like one of our first 5 episodes. Yeah. How much have our opinions and our views on topics changed since then?
Yeah.
It's been 2 years, I think.
Yeah, I'd
But I
say that
think
top.
there's been exponential growth, bro.
But
Oh,
I
100%.
think as individuals, you know, like Mufti Mini, you know, he does like that wisdom of the ancients. He just does those things. I listen to all of them, like they're very interesting. But I only remember a couple, and he goes like, a man doesn't enter the same pond twice. Because either the pond changes or the man does.
Yes.
So a man doesn't enter the same situation twice.
Wow, yeah.
So like even the podcast, we don't enter the same podcast twice. Either the podcast vibe changes or we change.
Yeah.
We're changing every single day. So that's why, like, that's unfortunate that happens, like, with podcasts or lectures. People listen to an old lecture, an old podcast, someone, they're like, oh, they have views like this. But it's changed over time, you know? Sometimes we hear scholars, they say, don't listen to the old stuff, listen to the new stuff.
And
we're always evolving.
Exactly. And the views are not necessarily wrong either. It's just your opinions are just matured because you've had like more life experiences.
Yeah.
And think about me at that time, I was what, like 20 years old, and I'm thinking, yeah, I've got the answer to this. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I know. Like happiness,
Young
ask me
man's
the
game.
question. Well, I got
Yeah,
this.
I always see him as 20, but that's so funny. Man.
And then
It's a
I'm
young
growing,
man's
you know what I mean?
game.
And
Yeah.
time has changed. And I'm thinking, then after you grow a little bit, yeah, you experience different things. Like you have certain experiences, things that like, and you know what the funniest thing about all of this is? Every year you go into things thinking you're in control. You know what I mean? Like you go next year, it's like, okay, done. I've completed the year before and everything that's happened, it can't be either worse or it can only probably get better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then after you get put down on like some sort of pedestal and then you realize like, nah, like someone else is in control of my affairs.
You get grounded. Yeah.
You get grounded a little
100%.
bit. And that's where you learn. When you're on that, like that grounded bit, that's the only way, you know. That's what my supervisor with my work was telling me. Yeah, he goes, anytime, because we have to hand in this like literature review, this like first draft. He goes, every single time my students hand me that draft, I never give them above a 50%. I'm thinking, I'm like, why? You know what I mean? And it's true because when it's the first draft, yeah, meaning we have to hand in more drafts till we get to that stage of perfection. If he gives us like an 80 and says, oh, you're doing well, when I go back and there's 20 days left till the final submission, I'm thinking like, heck, I got this.
That's
What's there more to do? Do you know what I mean? But once he puts me down there, I'm thinking, yeah, I realize this. You think on your feet. You know what I mean? And when you're in a position where you're down below, all you do is think. You think.
You're forced to grow.
You're forced to go. You have
That's
to.
what happens. Allah, this is why we have to see this as a blessing. Yeah, like when Allah Subhanahu wa Taala puts us in certain circumstances, the growth is forced on us, and that's a blessing, bro. Because there are a lot of people that go without growth.
Yeah.
And you've seen them around. Like everyone knows that 1 or 2 guys that never grew out of who they were when they were 20, and they're 35 now, acting the same way. And like, although Allah yahdina kanna, like inshallah Allah gives us all hidayah, yeah. But think about it, yeah. Like there needs to be something that sparks the growth. Like you can't start a fire without friction.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there has to be something, a catalyst for change. And a lot of the times, because we don't learn lessons from other people, like this podcast probably could benefit people, or it could just give people like a hint or a seed. Like our intention is to have your seed. We're not telling you to take everything. Inshallah, if you do, beautiful, because they're potholes that we fell in when we were younger. So, like we were saying, like the best thing for us is to to see everything as like adapt. Like you have to adapt to everything.
This is where I have to chuck in our quote where we say think progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we're aiming to progress every single day. We don't want to come back to the same podcast next one or another day where we meet someone or just in a year's time and be that stagnant person with the same views and the same mindset. You know what I mean? Because we're constantly evolving and we're trying to attain that perfection, which everyone, inshallah, should be. Yeah. But it's just a progress the whole time. It's a journey.
But it's a what's that thing called? A mirage.
Yeah.
It's a mirage, man. It's literally it's something that's unattainable.
Yeah.
It's something that you strive towards, and you don't lose hope in wishful thinking. The difference between wishful thinking and hope is that wishful thinkers are people who don't act upon something and they don't move towards a certain destination, but they just they wish for it to come, you know, or they wish for them
like
to.
Like people who have sabr and they just leave it. They don't act upon it.
Yeah, exactly. You need to actually put into action, into play, and then have hope. And and have hope and move from there, inshallah. And that's one of the lessons that I learned. Like you can't just sit there and ask Allah for sabr. Ya Allah, give me sabr. Allah's gonna give you proving grounds. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's gonna give you, like, for example, you're gonna see a guy and he's gonna talk bad to you. That was your time to gain sabr. You know what I mean? Like Bruce Almighty. You ever watched the movie?
Negative.
It's bad, but it's because Morgan Freeman acts as God. Astaghfirullah al-Azim, yeah.
Yeah, go.
But in the thing, he said, like God doesn't give you, He doesn't bestow upon you like patience.
Yeah.
Or he didn't say that particularly. God doesn't bestow something upon a believer. He basically gives you things to prove yourself with and to actually like gain that ability. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I was like,
I want to quickly interrupt because I was listening to Omar Suleiman. He's got a series called Praise of the Pious, and he used to talk about like narrations of hadith, and he said that actually like the Prophet encouraged someone. He heard someone making dua. Like, don't quote me on it, but I need to say it just in case people take it. Like someone was making dua asking for patience, and then like just saying like the Prophet said, don't ask for patience, ask for afiyah, ask for ease, because asking for patience means a trial is going to come with it. Yeah. Rather ask for ease where there's no trial, but you get the station of the people who go through trial. Because you shouldn't ask for challenges in 100%. This life. So just because when we're talking about sabr, people might say, I want to ask for sabr, you know.
And you know when they used to classify sabr is considered at the first instance. Meaning like when someone hits you or someone wrongs you, it's in that moment where sabr exists. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because after that you get clarity. You can easily say, oh, like, sorry, Sus, or sorry, Ashraf, you know what I mean? But in that moment, you're not thinking clearly. You know?
Virtue at the time of calamity.
Exactly. Yeah. So you don't want that. But, so what was your biggest life lesson? Or thus far?
This is the life lesson king, bro.
Nah, bro, I got a couple. And I'll just, like, kind of dabble in them a little bit. So I'll touch on them.
Go deep,
and then I'll see, like, you guys can go ahead with it, yeah? So one thing that I learned was being 24 now. Yeah, like one thing that I learned is...
You're the alpha.
I wish, bro. Wallah, but nah, fear is inevitable. Like, you're going to have moments in your life where you're just going to get tested and things are just going to be uncertain and you're given no option but to feel like fear. Do you know what I mean? You're gonna feel like you're going to feel out of your comfort zone, and the best thing for you are those moments. Because it's in those moments, like we were talking about from before, where growth is actually sparked.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
And the situations of stress.
Yeah.
So yeah, like fear of like not belonging. There's also fear of like of financial hardship. There's all these fears that are gonna pop into your head, and the thing is, it's your reaction to those fears that are gonna dictate the type of man or the type of person you're gonna be in the future. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So fear will often reveal you, and like how you react to it will often reveal to the man or to the woman who they really are. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so embrace fear. You know.
And it's good to put yourself in like certain circumstances or environments that make you uncomfortable, that you're fearful of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you might be a person who is comfortable with your friends, but when you go out in public with more than 10 people,
social anxiety.
You get social anxiety. Yeah. You can't speak. You can't say a word.
Exposure therapy, yeah.
Exactly, exposure therapy. Start small. You go order a coffee. I love my coffee. So you go order a coffee, say hello, strike a 2-second conversation, and then go from there. Expose yourself, And then
Stepping stones.
Expose yourself.
Yeah. I know. Will Smith has some skydiving story, and
Yeah.
it talks about fear. Unbelievable.
What's, you know the story?
But I
Just
don't.
paraphrase it.
But I'm
Paraphrase
not a
it,
story.
just
But it's like
paraphrase it.
just like the other side of fear is where growth is, where success is, and where like
Yeah.
even you attain that happiness.
Yeah.
So like putting yourself in those situations, like even forcefully, is good. Like even traveling to a country where you don't speak the language,
Yeah.
you know,
Stand-up comedy.
Yeah, or go stand-up comedy, or just even just going like to see a group of friends that you're not close with, you know, and they're like, I don't know, it's not going to be comfortable conversations. You go and you actually enjoy yourself. You know, starting a new sport, starting something that's, you know, people the norm. It's not the norm.
And they're the moments you go back later on and go, oh damn, that was amazing, because the expectations were low. You know what I mean? You go, you go to a public setting, you're like, oh, I'm a bit anxious to this. I don't know, all this kind of stuff. You come back and you go, bah, 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 bah.
Yeah.
You met those people that come back and they're excited. It's like, what happened to you before? Like 2 seconds, you weren't even excited.
No, honestly though, I realize that in the moments where like pressure occurs, like I feel like I grow the most and like I adapt. Like there's there's nothing better than being forced to adapt than for you to be actually like grow. Like there's times where, for example, you have an assignment to do and then they force you up to do a presentation. Bro, I'm pretty sure everyone felt this where they pooped themselves. I'm gonna crap myself. But yeah, basically I'm trying to keep it PG here.
But it's what you said, like everyone has fears. And the thing is, sometimes we think the person next to us isn't buckling.
Yeah,
you know, like public speaking, they say more people fear public speaking than they fear death.
100%.
It's the biggest fear in the world, public speaking.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes, like I remember when I used to give meetings at uni and stuff, there used to be like a table and everyone would talk. And then I used to buckle when I talked. And then I asked someone, how do you feel so comfortable? They're like, the person isn't even listening to you. They're just focusing on themselves.
Hard.
And it's that kind of thing. It's like, it was the same as me. I wasn't even listening to anyone. I was focusing on myself. So just think the next person's doing the same thing. You know, and even if they are watching you and stuff, it's gonna make you better public speaker. So there's pros and cons.
Yeah, GSP talks about it. GSP is like one of the greatest UFC champions of all time. George St. Pierre, if you don't know who that is. Basically, they used to look at this guy. He like barely lost in his career, maybe twice or 3 times. They ask him like, "How are you like so good?" And he's like, "Do you ever get nervous before fights?" He goes, "Bro," "I almost have a panic attack before I go into fights." Like he said on Joe Rogan's podcast, he goes, "I get so nervous." He goes like the whole 2 weeks beforehand, I'm all good, and then he goes like the moments before the fight, I have to go into the toilet and I have to yell at myself and convince myself that I'm good enough. And he's a champion, bro. He's actually a champion.
And he's been doing it like maybe his whole life for 10, 15 years, whatever.
Bro, he's been doing
Basically,
it for
positive
ages.
affirmation, basically.
Yeah, but it's like the positive affirmations thing are just like it
doesn't work in the moment, but
they're a fraction, you know what I mean? They're a fraction of the situation. They're just something that'll get you by for like whatever that little nervous like couple seconds or couple minutes are before the actual walkout.
So how does he cope with it? What did he do?
You just go out, bro.
He just does it.
You just got to do it.
it's what they
does it.
say. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
You know? But I know the opposite. I used to hear like Kobe or like people that used to be like the clutch shooters. They used to always take the last shot.
Yeah.
And then people used to say like, aren't you nervous? And he goes, it's just a game. I love this game.
Exactly,
It's not life and death. And that's what public speaking. If you gave a speech and you did bad and you, I don't use what you said before, but you made a mistake. You stuttered. Yeah. If you made a mistake, it's actually not life and death. Obviously, it feels like it in the moment.
Yeah.
But as soon as you're done, you're like, it wasn't that deep.
Yeah.
Or
wallah.
a lot of times you say something awkward, you never see the person again.
And no one
Yeah.
remembers,
But it's
bro.
that kind of thing. It's like you got to just do it.
Good segue to the next one. Don't take yourself too seriously. That was my other life lesson,
Yeah.
man. If you understand something about life, even if you got cancelled on Twitter or you done something dumb in public, bro, you're only going to be in news for 15 minutes. In 2 weeks, someone else is going to do something even dumber than you did or is going to mess up more than you did, and then everyone's going to get over it, bro. Because everyone has their own problems. Everyone has their own issues. Everyone's going about their life their own ways, you know what I mean? And you're not going to be something that, like, someone's going to be thinking about 24/7.
But I look at that completely different because that's like external.
Yeah.
I look at it as more internal because I remember you told me that like even a year ago, and it's been conscious on my mind. Like it was more of an ego thing. That if I'm doing something, and because like I used to do 100 days, where like I went gym 100 days, and I used to post it. Obviously, your lifts get strong when you push yourself, you know. So I used to post, and I used to think I was like strong, you know. And then you'd start a podcast, and it starts going well. You think you're something.
Wallah.
It's like don't take yourself too serious.
No, you don't.
Like Allah can take it away, And also, it's like there's people out there that are doing better than you, like 1 billion times better than you. Like even me, what I was lifting or what I was doing here was still you're so small. It's like, and if it's fisabilillah, you won't take yourself too serious. That's how I took it. It was more internal
You gotta
thing.
check yourself.
There's always
Keep
someone
yourself in
richer.
line.
There's always someone prettier.
Yeah.
There's always someone stronger. Life's just like
Sounds
that, bro.
familiar.
And even 100 years, even 100 years down the line, like people barely ever gonna remember us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's be honest. Inshallah, Allah remembers us. That's the main thing. Yeah.
100%.
So if like if you see it like that, if you see it like people are just gonna like, and anyways, like, sorry, I just want to move on from that, but like you've seen those videos of how small Earth is in comparison to
yeah,
You've seen that?
subhanallah.
like Earth is like very tiny in comparison to the sun, and the sun is even less than the stars, the other stars that are in the Milky Way. The Milky Way is just one galaxy
In our
the
universe.
whole.
And that universe is
nebula,
1 out of
bro.
7 universe.
And then we got Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how big He is and His arsh. Bro, we're nothing. Like our we're just insignificant specks, bro.
But it's the ego thing. That's
Yeah.
why. So like for me, I was like, don't take yourself too serious, because like especially like in the dunya, they talk about like how we're just a corpse and we just live for 60, 70 years. Then we're in the grave and animals are eating us and stuff. It's like, and also what you're doing in the grand scheme of things, like compared to what other people did, like the 4 Khalifas or the prophets, or like even some of the companions, the levels to what they did to the deen, it's like, what are you doing?
Wallah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's
Wallah.
like, yeah.
Was there a certain moment that made you realize that though? Or was that just like a learning process? Like it was just
I think it was
a,
like
a group of things?
straight out of high school. Like in high school,
Yeah.
I remember being a very angry guy. And like Ashraf was saying, the ego thing was the biggest thing for me. I went to a all boys school, so there's a lot of testosterone. There's a lot of like everyone trying to be alpha and all that sort of stuff, yeah? Basically what happened was like I'd get very angry if somebody even spoke to me in a disrespectful manner. But who the hell am I to not get disrespected if the Prophet ﷺ was disrespected? And all he did was come here to help people out, to help people stay away from Jahannam. And we're like, who am I to not get like someone to go, hey Sahil bro, you're shit at footy. And what are you talking about, man?
I'll take you one-on-one now.
bro. I'll see you one-on-one after school. Shut up, man. Go sit down, bro. Like sometimes also, bro, wallah, like the whole thing where it's like I can't get begged, I can give, but I can't take, and all that sort of stuff, bro. And then I go, why am I so? Like I would find myself vexed for no reason, like be always angry, and I'm like, why am I such an angry bloke for? And I realized that, like, remember you had your operation for your knee. I had an operation as well, and then I had to stay home for like 4 or 5 weeks, and I realized life just moves without us, bro.
Wallah. As soon as people come for like a week or so, and then it's normal because life moves on.
Yeah.
And same kind of thing, like me going overseas, Melbourne didn't change. It's the same thing, you know? But how about, like, don't take yourself too seriously. How about, like, people's judgments and perceptions of you? Because I know for me, that used to get me a lot. Like, you know, if someone says you're this or you're that, you know, titles people give you in the community or a rumor or something, that used to get to my head a lot.
I can imagine, especially if you've done something like something you're not proud of, but you done it when you were younger.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So what was the question you were saying?
Like, say I said, don't take yourself too serious.
Yeah.
Did that link to you? Because I know, like, you've helped me kind of not care about other people's opinions.
Yeah.
So did that link, like, taking yourself too serious and people's opinions of you?
Yeah, a lot of the time. A lot of the time, like, people, for example, like, say they come up to you and they tell you something about how you are as a person. A lot of the time, people just projecting their insecurities on you. Yeah. A lot of the time, I see myself, like, I will be gassed because I played a good football game, for example. Yeah. And then I got back to school and I'm like, mad. Everyone's going to recognize, bro, I killed it. I had a mad game. I had a blinder. Come to school. And then there's always that one guy played absolutely terrible. Probably didn't even play. He was on the sidelines. Oh, bro, you didn't even play that good. Oh, you shit. And then you're looking at him like, bro, really? And the only person that you remember saying something is him.
Yeah.
You have 40 people gas you, bro. Random guys that don't know you tell you, bro, you had a mad game, you had a blinder. That one guy you're going to remember.
You still remember to this day? You think about it. It's been
bro.
10 years.
But I started laughing because after all of this, like that person actually makes you doubt yourself. And it's the truth. Because you don't know what angle they're coming from. You think they're genuinely saying that you're actually playing bad because of your performance, not because of their own agenda. A lot of the times people say things because they have an agenda behind what they're saying. Or a lot of the times, the next day, they won't remember they said it to you.
That's the biggest thing, yeah. They don't remember, but you remember 10 years later or a year later. Like, sometimes the titles people give you, they've called you names, they've said certain things to you, and you just forget because you might do it like once in a while, or just khalas, it didn't mean a lot to you.
Yeah.
But you hurt the person.
And sometimes they didn't even mean it themselves, and it brings out some sort of insecurity in you.
Yeah.
Like they might have said something about just the way that you physically look, or just took the piss. The boys take the piss all the time.
100%.
Yeah, it's a boy.
And you catch yourself 2 weeks later still thinking about that one thing. And it's like,
Yeah, because they touched on an insecurity.
they
within
touched
you.
on something.
But it's good for you. Like sometimes you see things that you're not comfortable with, and they're actually brought to light by somebody else.
Yeah.
Like they're really good points to like be aware of, because they're things that if they're touched on later on, you can actually have your guard up beforehand, so you don't get too affected by them in the future.
And your mind's not stupid either. Like when you're feeling something, there's a reason why you're feeling
Yeah,
it.
100%.
You know what I mean? You gotta find out why that is.
100%. You dig
What's-
a little deeper.
What's next?
We're going hard, huh? I got the next one will be, don't be too hard on yourself. Yeah. A lot of the
Okay.
times, yeah, like you'll make a mistake or you'll do something that you regret it. Yeah. And then further down the line, yeah, you're gonna look at yourself and go, you can either kick yourself and like be a person like we were talking about last time, be a person who delves into self-pity. But the best thing for you to do is, like an iPhone update, nobody ever goes back to check what Catalonia or whatever the hell that is. Was it Catalonia?
Catalina.
Catalonia, the update from last like 3 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to bring that back, and it's gonna come over on my computer. It never comes back, bro.
Yeah.
But I remember because on the Hamza Yusuf series, he spoke about, I think, Imam Junaid. He said, when you commit a sin, you know, there's the hadith that says, if someone repents from a sin, it's like they never did it. He goes, if you repent from a sin, forget about it.
Yeah.
Don't remember it, don't think about it, because if you actually were sincere, just forget about it, because all it's going to do is bring you back down. I'm a sinner, I'm a this and that. If Allah's forgiven you, and inshallah He has, just move on. And that kind of thing, like, don't take yourself too serious. Same kind of thing, just move on. Have that ability.
Think about it, yeah. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said from His own mouth that if you were to not sin, I will destroy you and create people who would, and they'll come back to me. Well, why are we gonna argue with the Creator?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's a part of our nature to stuff up. It's a part of who we are. We're what's that word? We're beings who stuff up, basically. Yeah.
خطائين. We make mistakes, yeah.
That's it. خير الخطائين التوابين. That's it. Just ask for forgiveness, and realize that life isn't a race. Yeah, we're not like, it's not first to get to the finish line. There's no finish line. You don't even know when your finish line is.
Yeah.
A lot of the times people are planning and plotting, and then the angel of death sitting in the corner shaking his head. He knows your time, you know?
Yeah.
We don't know our time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows our time.
SubhanAllah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could think by 24, this guy had this, I should have this by 24, and you die at 21. Or you die at 23 and a half, or 23 and just the day before your birthday, when you're supposed to get that check or whatever it is that you were G'd about, and it's gone.
You know, the being too hard on yourself, it can go back to the idea, like, we're just focusing on the goals.
Yeah.
So if you start to kind of like live in the moment,
Yeah.
forget about not just the future, forget about the past, and just live in the moment, you kind of won't be as hard on yourself.
It's the
Because you take it day
expectations,
by day.
But you need that balance as well, though.
Yeah.
That's the main thing, because I feel like we're turning into a very, very soft society. Like, you know that video, that photo I sent you guys the other day?
Which one?
David Goggin, the Can't Hurt Me book.
Yeah.
And he's speaking about looking yourself into a mirror and stop making excuses for yourself. You know what I mean? There's a reason why I sent that, not because obviously we're doing the challenge, but also because, like, nowadays we're in a society where, nah, it's all right, like, I'll get there. Or they're just very, very soft on themselves. You know what I mean? And you gotta be light on yourself sometimes, and there's moments to be hard on yourself. But you need that balance. Yeah. Because when you're too soft on yourself, you're not gonna get anywhere either.
I think the being too hard on yourself is like when you make a mistake and you start putting yourself down. But I think you have to, if it's a discipline, kind of like prior to mistakes, if it's a discipline trying to improve yourself, you have to be hard on yourself.
Yeah.
If you keep doing the easy route, it's same thing like if public speaking or skydiving or meeting new friends is uncomfortable, you need to go in that.
100%.
But the not being too hard on yourself is like with mistakes, yeah?
Bro,
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Bro, Messi missed penalties. He's missed a lot of penalties, bro. But he's still considered the GOAT of soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah? You have people like Jordan telling you, I've missed how many game winners. Yeah? The reason why they're so good is because they turn up the next day and try it again. And they try it again. And they try it again. And the more you try it, the more shots are going to go in. Let's be honest. Yeah? The less shots you take, you're going to be known as the guy who took 3 game winners and missed all 3 of them.
But life's the same. Just keep shooting.
Yeah.
Like, keep taking your chances.
Keep
Exactly,
going,
bro.
exactly.
That's how it is, man.
Did you have any advice?
No,
Like
just the
anytime-
excuses thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate for, like, like there's times to make excuses for yourself. Do you know what I mean? And that's when you don't be too hard on yourselves. Yeah. But there's times where you just got to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, putting yourself under some sort of the hashtag that I have on my bio, seek discomfort. You know what I mean? That's like the motto sort of that I live behind. You know what I mean? Put yourself in situations that are uneasy for yourself. And when I say uneasy, like don't go to the other side of the world within one day when you haven't even left your suburb. You know what I mean? Ease yourself into it, but one day by one day, just go into it. That type of thing.
Start taking cold showers.
They go off.
For at least 10 seconds. But yeah, another one, learn to say no. Yeah,
Essentialism.
Yeah,
when I read that, damn.
Wallah. There's other books behind Abdul Ali's head.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, one thing that I think everybody in their 20s is suffering from is FOMO. Yeah? A lot of the times we want to be in 3 places at once, but we can't. Yeah? And what we do is we put so much pressure on ourselves to go everywhere, to experience everything to do. And we forget that sometimes we need to prioritize our lives. We need to know what's important, what's not important, what needs to be seen, what doesn't need to be seen. Because when I was 22 and I was around the boys, and bro, I wasn't at home. And anybody who knew me would know that bro, there was one time where I ate at home for Ramadan once in 30 days, twice in 30 days. And for me, looking back at that now, I'm like, fuck, but don't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
But no, like I look back and I go, why the hell wouldn't I just stop, take a step back, breathe, yeah? And whenever somebody invites me, maybe next time. And a lot of the times, yeah, the no asserts your boundaries. And when you have boundaries, the sooner you learn to have boundaries, like the more you grow as a person. I feel like the respect for you grows because you value your own time, and because other people will start to realize that you value your own time, so they'll value your time too. So when it comes to things like Ashraf doesn't like when people are late, yeah, not because you're late, but because you're wasting his time. He could have been doing something else, and he could have been productive in another way, but you decided, I'm going to rock up 30, 40 minutes late. Doesn't matter. It's just Ashraf. But as soon as Ashraf tells you no, the next time you're going to come early. And if you don't, he's going to tell you take care. Don't come back. Simple.
What advice would you give to the audience, for guys who don't know how do you say no? Because I know we've spoken about it in other podcasts about saying no and whatnot. And I catch myself sometimes like just chucking stuff on my plate. Like I remember today, someone invited me to a futsal game. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm low-key injured. Yeah, and I just said yes, and I just forgot that like I don't even want to play futsal, but I just said yes because of the guy. Like I felt bad for him, and I've been in the position he's been, and he's just trying to recruit people. Yeah, you know what I mean. So what advice would you give to people?
To be honest with you, like he's a nice guy, but it's not gonna be the end of the world for him if you don't go.
No, it's not. Yeah,
like a lot of the times we think that, oh well, they're relying on me, and bro.
And even if they beg, because sometimes they beg.
Bro, I'm telling you, there's a guy I used to hang out with. And a lot of the times he used to like want to chill a lot, yeah? Like he'd want to go places, he'd want to do things, and if you think it's you, it's not you. But but basically, yeah, he'd want to do things consistently, and then I'm like, one time I go, yeah, I have to be there for him, and we have to be friends. And then there was one time I said no, and I never got asked to go anywhere with him again, because he found someone else that was saying yes to him always. Do you understand? Like, we're not that important in the fact that we're thinking that we're the only person this person has. But in their head, they're thinking you're just the easiest option because you always say yes to me regardless. So which brings me to my next point. Sometimes being alone is better than being around too many people.
Was that a recent lesson?
I want to go back to the no, though.
But
just in general, just that saying no, it's something that we all have to adopt. Yeah. Because like Islamically, like our time is an amana, and see, like living in the moment, that kind of thing. It's like we're not sure how long we're gonna have. What he spoke about, the angel of death could be just around the corner. If we keep saying yes to people, we lose ourselves. That's one thing, and then we lose one of our most important things. Like it's encouraged in our deen when we're in the youth to make the most of our time, seek knowledge, to do good deeds, do righteous things, and especially what we push in our podcast is the balance. Go see your friends, 100%. But sometimes it's the Ramadan where you say yes every day and you only see your family twice. And your family have an amana. and your friends having a manner and your job has a manner. It's like just a balance. You know, say yes to people, especially when you want to, but when you actually don't want to, or when you think even just staying at home, being alone, the next point, like staying alone, sometimes it's better to have some alone time because you need to like, you know, start
Recharge the batteries.
recharge the batteries.
Yeah.
Ikhtilaf, bro. What did the Prophet ﷺ do?
Yeah.
Went to the cave. Was it every day? Something
Just
like that. But he
it
went
was
to
a
the
frequent
cave.
habit. It was a
Yeah.
frequent habit.
It was
Yeah.
a habit that the Rasul ﷺ would go to his cave and just escape everyone, just be with Allah.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, that's how we lose our iman, bro, because we're so crowded and we're just taking in noise from everywhere that we forget to kind of like sit down just with Allah and just be in a moment. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And kind of like bring ourselves back to reality, because let's be honest, though a lot of the people that we're gonna be around, like in these days, like in this age, you're not gonna be around them later on, because they say usually you can count your friends on one hand.
Yeah, it's phases in life, you know.
Do you know what I
You're
mean?
in a social phase kind of thing. But being alone, like it's a unique thing to have. COVID, alhamdulillah, kind of taught people if it's good for them, if it's not good for them. But it's the same thing as like we spoke about last week on the books. It's like you can find ways to kind of enjoy it as well. If you just like, I know personally, if I'm just sitting here on the couch and watching TV shows, eventually I'm gonna get bored. But there's certain things you can kind of do, like people pick up certain habits or hobbies or leisure activities they want to learn. Like people learn a new language, learn new skills. That can kind of be interesting. So even being alone, you can kind of find enjoyment by yourself. A lot of people think you can't, but there's multiple things you can do that you can't, you know?
Just haven't found out what it is.
Yeah.
Learning to be alone is a superpower, apparently.
You reckon?
Yeah, that's what that guy said on Joe Rogan. Remember?
Nah.
The
Yeah.
guy said he goes,
Superpower?
what's that guy's name? I think he's Indian. I'm not too sure.
Oh,
the-
Nabil.
He's talking about the
Naveed?
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was
Nabil or
talking-
Naveed?
Yeah.
He was talking about how the way
That guy's a
a
nerd.
guy
Allah
lives.
barik.
A guy has two lives. A person has two
Yeah.
lives. One when they realize that they've only got one.
Yeah.
They start living after they only realize they've got one life.
Yeah, like the
He's the guy that reads 100 books a year.
Does he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
we'll know you to debate that. Any other lessons, boys?
now that was interesting, bro. But for me, there's you know everyone says like to have one ayah, one hadith that always gets them. There's one hadith, and I've trying to like be conscious of it. I could say it from my head, but just in case.
Is that an iPhone 12, by the way?
Nah,
Allah
I don't got that much money. Done. So just the hadith that says, "How amazing is the affair of the believer, that everything that happens to him is good, and this is not the case for anyone but the believer." Like non-Muslims don't have this, status. If something bad happens to him, he bears patience, which is good for him. And if something good happens to him, we get a good job, we're getting good results at the gym, alhamdulillah, we're saving some money, he is grateful, and that is good for him. Everything that happens to him is khair, in amru kullahu khair, which is just a beautiful thought. Like whatever happens to him in his entire life, bad, good, trial, tribulation, it's just there's always khair in it, from Allah.
In order to think that, you got to be conscious. I think that's like the main thing.
Yeah.
Because you like, I don't know what it is, but like I know a lot of people and myself sometimes I catch myself lacking. You know what I mean? And I say this to you guys a lot. Perspective matters. You know what I mean? And you can't have the right perspective if you're not conscious of your situation. You know what I mean? Like you get pricked by something, you know what I mean? And you could easily say, oh, you just yell out something like that. Or you could say something beneficial in that moment. You know what I mean? That consciousness of that moment, knowing it, matters big time.
Yeah. It's belief. Because like eventually you might hit a stage like everything you kind of do, you're conscious of Allah. And that's all it is, taqwallah, like just always being certain.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna, what do you reckon? Just cap it there?
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
We'll leave it there. Jazakallah khairah. Thank you very much, boys. Thank you, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And any life lessons that you guys want to share with us, put it in the comments below. Put it in a DM if you're not comfortable doing that. You know what I mean? Share it with us. We're down to hear it, inshallah, because we'll all benefit in the end of the day.
And another thing is, people that care about you often give advice. The older people, your older siblings, your uncles and your family members, actually listen to them. Obviously it's hard and we forget about it, but try to see where they're coming from. Even if you don't take the advice, but you see how sincere they are, it shows they love you. Because you don't like ad-din nasiha. Ad-din is giving sincere advice kind of thing, and they're actually coming from a good place.
100%.
People don't give advice to maybe
random strangers that they just meet on the side of the road. They give it to people they care about. He's right. So thank you very much, guys.
Boom.
Thank you.